discuss it as we're watching it.
Yes, and that is fair use.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. The same thing about this whole one we just watched. It had that. It didn't have a reporter doing it. It was someone doing an over thing, like they were talking about a nature show.
So you want the one that says Larry Sinclair says? Is that the one you want?
Yeah, the one that says that, and then it says the Tucker Carlson status. But the video we're going to watch, it says that Larry Sinclair says he had a night of crack cocaine-fueled sex with Barack Obama, and that Obama came back for more the next day. So,
I saw that.
We're going to watch this video, but we're going to do it in increments so that, YouTube doesn't, have a cow. They're going to have a cow anyways, just simply because of the headline I put on this. But, I think we're not going to be the only ones. I'm sure other people are going to do it. But I just think this is important. I think a lot of people don't really know what's going on, and maybe something that we are able to talk about will make them think about it and want to look into it for themselves.
Says the tweet's been deleted.
Oh, I'll open it again. I've got it right here.
Sorry.
Get it. I already went and got it. Okay. Now I gotta share, present, right? And then say share screen. And let me open it again. I think it's this one.
For fans of Janet, she will at some point get really adept at all this.
Here it is.
She'll refer to things as present. She's not even going to talk about that. She's just going to pop it up on screen.
Here we go again.
But it's fun to watch her learn this.
Okay, so you guys ready? Wait. I think I got it turned up.
No, we don't. That's all the way up. Go up higher.
Okay, here we go. Now I don't know how to make it bigger.
Yes, you do. The bottom right-hand corner.
Here?
Right there. Yes, you got it.
Okay, so you guys ready? Now, Bruce, just say, hey, pause or something, because I forget how long it takes. So just let me know.
We're
gonna back it up a bit.
We'll have to do the Creative Commons license on this video, but we shouldn't get in trouble. We'll be able to dispute any bullshit.
You want to back it up a bit?
Yeah, I'll back it up just a bit.
There
okay,
you
ready?
Perfect.
Here we go, people.
In retrospect, it's pretty amazing that Barack Obama got as far as he did. In 2004, the summer of 2004, Barack Obama gave the keynote address at the Democratic Convention in Boston. And when he walked to the podium, probably only a small percentage of people in the room knew how to pronounce his name. He was totally unheard of. No one knew Barack Obama. At the time, he was a state senator in Illinois. 4 years later, he once again spoke to the Democratic Convention, but this time as the nominee. Meteoric doesn't begin to describe it. How did this happen? Well, the outlines are fairly well known, though rarely talked about. A small group of Democratic donors, mostly in Chicago, decided that Barack Obama was their guy. He was the vessel for their ambitions. They paid for his campaign. They paved the way for his rise. He spent 2 years pointlessly in the United States Senate preparing to run for president in 2008. And of course, in the end, he won.
Go ahead and pause.
The question was, who?
Okay.
So. They're going to talk about a few people that used to be downtown royalty in Chicago. Now they're getting up in age, and thank God. Because God did not do the right thing and nip their lives in the butt at an early age, we're forced to deal with paying for Bill Ayers and Bernadine Dorn, members of the Weather Underground, who were a terrorist organization back in the 60s and 70s. Bill actually is a convicted felon, and he served time, but not long enough. And now, no, I don't think he's doing it anymore, but he used to be a professor at a college, I believe, in DeKalb, Illinois. He's a piece of shit. Okay,
yes.
Go ahead.
100%.
Okay, so start again.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Okay, hold on. I got to go back over. Play it. Hold on.
Was
working on it.
Where did he come from? What did he spend his life doing before he became president of the United States? Well, the news media, whose job it is to answer those questions, spent the entire 2008 campaign trying to keep you from knowing the answers. By Election Day, most Americans knew only one thing about Barack Obama, other than he was handsome and a good communicator: hope and change. But they knew nothing about him, his origins, what he believed, and legitimate questions about those facts were turned away as they
Pause. Okay.
Pause. Okay. When we were getting ready to to hear from this garbage pile during the run-up for Jack Ryan to be the Illinois state rep. We were given information about this, and it was walked to numerous news agencies just who Obama was tied to. And you want to see things go fast, start talking about who Barack was tied to in Chicago, in Illinois, and that story would not get published. Even downstate where I was in Macon and Logan County, you couldn't talk about how he was tied to the neighborhood nice guy, Bill Ayers, how he was just a friend of Frank Marshall. So if you look at Frank Marshall and you look at Barack Obama, I think the ugly woman, the ugly cracker that birthed Obama, I think she fucked him. And that's what we got. Like the perfect union of two pile of shit socialist communist types that just absolutely want to slather any juice off of Saul Alinsky over their body before they copulate. And this is exactly what we get.
You have to remember you're dealing with Bohemian Grove type of things.
Yeah.
She a dedicated communist, and these people basically want to bring upon, the political antichrist, somebody who, again, sex parties doing this stuff to create their Manchurian candidate. This
his real name is Barry Soetoro.
Yes, and he's not an American. You know why? An American to me is somebody who grew up, lived in America his whole entire life. He did not. He was in Indonesia the majority of his upbringing. He doesn't know the American experience as a child growing up in America.
Nope.
And he was from a rich family too.
Yes.
So he didn't get to find out what it was like just to be a normal kid, because he was always had a silver spoon in his mouth. But one thing I thought was interesting, while he was running, because I told you, they hid everything. They didn't want you to find out anything about him. But I remember one of my sisters, her husband's family was from Chicago, Illinois. And I remember talking to some of the people in her other family, and asking them, why they were going to vote for Obama. I go, aren't you guys Catholics? And they said, yeah. And I said, well, this guy, while he's senator in your state, voted that girls 13 or 14 years old could get an abortion without their parents' permission. I
don't want my daughter to be punished with a baby.
So it was like they were, I didn't know that. Now, see, even people in his own state, when they voted for him to be senator, didn't even know anything about him or even what his points of view were. I mean, as far as I know, they only knew
their Democratic leaders.
Yes, that's right. And they just followed blindly like the good sheeple they were to vote for him as senator.
The only guy that he ever pretty much cautiously avoided, like a pothole on the Tri-State Expressway, is Reverend Jesse Jackson. He never did anything with him. And it's kind of funny that he didn't, but he tried to, he knew that was like political dynamite. Like, it'd be great for this little segment of the population. If you're black in Chicago, you got Jesse Jackson on your side, you're going to get elected no matter what. But if you go on the national stage or outside of the fucking Joliet city borders on the South, like the moment you say Reverend Jesse Jackson's going to appear with somebody, that person is automatically off the reservation. He's immediately put back in the most worst social dregs. And they were wise to keep him away from Jesse. And then Jesse was talking shit about Obama about maybe 6 months before Obama became a viable candidate against Hillary Clinton. And there's a funny story in there as well. But Jesse Jackson said, Obama ain't one of us. He's never had the black experience, going back on his time in Indonesia. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And then there was the wonderful time in 2008. It was, 2008 in the summer when Rush Limbaugh started Operation Chaos. Operation Chaos is the operation that the Limbaugh listeners did in the states that hadn't had their primaries yet, where they were going and checking to see poll numbers and voting for the down candidate at the moment, just to give Hillary Clinton hope and to screw up the entire election process. That was the only good thing that happened in 2008. Other than the fact we got John McCain to run for Republican ticket, and that's the year I fucking decided, no, I ain't gonna vote for you, piece of shit. You can't land a plane. Sorry.
Well, no, that's fine. But the thing is that they did see. Everyone talks about there's no way that all this cheating took place. You couldn't get that many people in that many states to follow through and have it all work. Well, this whole thing worked. They did it. Okay, they were able to get what they needed for the zombie to win. Okay. Or to look like he won. And look at what all the work it took to get Obama into office. How many people it took. And then when Obama was in there, when he did get in, he signed into law the Smith-Mundt Act. So you can't prosecute anybody that's on the news or a news channel or whatever for saying false stuff like, we saw the PP dossier and we did this. And we did that.
Biggest joke in the world.
Yeah,
because again, the idea, the fact that this man, this evil succubus antichrist crap, it's just again, I see through all this because I lived here. I saw it and going, what's this guy doing? All his connections, but again, the African American community, everybody was enamored by him. It was a virus because again, that's their whole idea. Let's flood the news, let's flood media, let's do a puff pieces, let's do everything. It was all positive. And anybody who was questioning it was shut down completely, and then they pushed. They were called racist and just conspiracy theorists and all that stuff because that was it started back then.
Well, it started when he was first running.
Yeah, and here's the ironic thing. That's when I bring this the last point up.
Bad about him, like when I talked about him signing into law. One of the people that pushed the whole thing for girls, 13 or 14-year-old girls, to be able to get an abortion without their parents' permission in Chicago or in the state of Illinois. And I was a racist because I said that. I'm like, what's racist about that? Babies are dying, and most of them are Black. Okay, so why is that racist? I don't want to see any babies murdered. I don't care what their skin color is, but the thing is, they have the right to live. And a child that's only 13 or 14 years old isn't old enough to understand the consequences of her actions, because she doesn't understand, and she's being told by a counselor at school, we're going to help you. See, there's no reason for your parents to know, and then you won't get in trouble from your parents. But guess what? You took a grandbaby away from those parents. They had no option to even know about it. Even the grandparents on the boys' side, they didn't get to find out. So I don't understand where all this uproar is. Where's the uproar for all these parents that they had their rights stomped over, and the child's rights? They were already doing what they're doing now by saying, you could go ahead and get your boobs cut off, and we can get your hormones, and you can take your testicles off and become the opposite sex without the parents even being involved. They were already doing this kind of stuff. So we lost control way before we even realized it, because most of us was done behind closed doors. But okay, so I'm gonna do this again. Oh, it's the wrong one. This one. Okay, here we go. You ready?
Yep.
With the claim, that's a conspiracy theory. You're crazy. Shut up. One of the most interesting moments in the 2008 campaign occurred when a man like Obama himself came from out of nowhere to recount his experiences with Barack Obama, the man. His name was Larry Sinclair, and he told an amazing story. He said that in 1999, he had encountered Barack Obama in Illinois, had sex with Barack Obama, and then used cocaine with him. Sinclair went on to make these claims publicly at the National Press Club in Washington, to sign a sworn affidavit, and to take a lie detector test. But he was dismissed. In fact, he was attacked. Obama shills like Ben Smith of Politico batted the claims out without refuting them. They're absurd. And the rest of the media followed suit. But the claims weren't absurd. We're not claiming they're true, but they were certainly credible. This was a firsthand account Barack Obama's behavior by someone who was willing to sign a sworn affidavit to that effect. So the question is, whatever happened to Larry Sinclair? What's his life been like since? That's an interesting story. It turns out Larry Sinclair is still alive. He lives in Mexico. But today, he's in our studio, and we're happy to have him. Larry Sinclair, thank you so much.
Thank you for inviting me.
Where did you meet Barack Obama?
It was by accident. I was in the Chicago area in '99 for Lee Duke's graduation from the Naval Academy.
Who's Lee Duke?
He's basically my godson.
Okay.
I had hired a limousine service.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Did you live in Chicago then?
No. I was actually living in Colorado. I had flown in the night before.
Okay.
So had hired a limousine service, had made the driver aware that if Lee couldn't leave the base, because once they graduate, some of them actually get their assignments and they're shipping out and they can't leave the base, that I was still interested in going out. And had asked the driver if he knew anybody that was available that might want to show me, Chicago. And he said he did. So
well, who was the driver?
His name was Jameer Multani. It was with 5-star limo.
Okay. So you're just a guy who's in town for the night, and it sounds like you're looking to party, actually.
Yeah.
That's what you're really saying.
Yeah. Well, I was in town for a few nights, but yeah, I was definitely looking to party.
This is like
and
did you make that clear to the driver?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah. There was no misunderstanding.
How direct were you about that?
Extremely.
Extremely. Okay.
Robert England.
There was no doubt.
Next door to Peter. What's his name? Peter from The Family Guy. This is the guy that's always trying to sodomize Chris.
Mm-hmm.
Look, if Freddy Krueger and that man had a baby, and then the baby was 75 years old.
Yeah. But the thing is, I mean, he doesn't. I don't know. I would like to have somebody. I don't know anyone, but if I knew someone I could trust for body language and all that, to watch this interview and watch the one from before that I was telling you I saw. I would like to find out what their honest opinion is of whether this guy's a liar or full of shit, or telling the truth. I would really be interested in hearing that, because I don't know anyone. I mean, I don't know enough people to know someone that's a profession, but I know that lawyers hire them all the time to use them for interviews and stuff for jury duty. Or not jury duty, but jury, to be on a jury for big trials and stuff like that. So I don't know
what I was looking for.
Okay.
And he picked me up at my hotel in Gurnee and drove into Chicago, pulled up in a bar outside, and there's this guy that's introduced to me as Barack Obama. It was literally that casual.
Had you ever heard of him?
No.
Did the driver know him?
Yep. The driver definitely knew him because the driver said that he was a friend.
Interesting. How would the driver be friends with Barack Obama?
I only found out later, dealing with a reporter from Bloomberg News, that apparently the limousine company had been doing business with Tony Resco. That at the time was somehow affiliated.
Sorry, what?
I haven't heard Tony Resco for a few years. Usually it was from the voice of Rush Limbaugh, Tony Resco. And you do a search on that, and I wonder if that's a protected name now on the internet.
Yeah,
I don't know. I mean, was he conservative or liberal?
Fucking huge socialist communist. This guy is in the Alinsky triangle. And,
the Chicago politics, Chicago businesses are all corrupt. They're all about power.
They're all fucking each other.
Yes, that's true. And I had confirmation of that too. Basically, I heard firsthand from somebody over Labor Day what they told me about everybody, that everybody, all who, even the who is it? Some Underwood, some Carrie, not a Carrie Underwood, somebody.
Larry Underwood.
Was it Carrie Underwood? The senator, not the senator, the representative from Chicago, one of the representative, the new one, Lauren Underwood. Sorry,
Lauren.
her. That they are all having sex with each other on the down low. They're sleeping with each other. They're corrupt. All the stuff, and it's insane, and all part. This is second. Not this. Someone told me this that they're all part of the Illuminati.
But see, one thing I don't understand is if everybody is forced to live under communism, I mean, why do these people, the ones that are helping push us along, think that they're not going to have to live under it? See,
here's the idea. You want to know here's the analogy I'll give you. The best analogy I can give you is from the Twilight movies or the books per se. The Voltari, the head of the vampires, the ones suck everybody out. They want people to come in, and that one scene where you see about that there's somebody that wants to be a vampire too and will do anything for them. So they want to be part of the whole thing. They want the status, they want the power, so they'll sell their soul for it. That's what they want. They want the power too. Again, it's all about the almighty God, the dollar. They want this. And that's the God for the masses. Their God is not the God. It's it's evil. It's control.
Well,
they want control.
One they worship is probably Moloch, and maybe a little bit of Mammon as well.
Yes, but again, the sad to say, but this is how it works. It's one side and the other. They're both evil, and I'm telling you the truth. People who again, I'm going to offend a lot of people, but it happens where you had this happen in the early 20th century. You had massive memes. You look at the old newspapers back then, they had publications that came out. So and so was sleeping with this guy. So and so was doing that. They had, printing presses that printed off stuff that people were handing out. And then, of course, they created the laws that said, well, you have to censor it. That's why TV's still censored, because those laws that happened back in the 30s were kicked in. And in the 30s, what happened also was prohibition, because against the swing, decadence and then the swing. So the swing's coming, and that's what I'm saying. Both are evil. They want to have, in the future, you may have, practically it's guaranteed now, if things stay the same, religious zealots can control 50 years from now. And it's going to be just as bad as, prohibition, stop this, stop that. And it's the whole idea, because they want to push this, the whole idea of the transitioning. We got to put up a law. Can't do this. Then it could go to federal law. You can't do this without blah, blah, blah. So everything gets compounded. The whole idea they want, because again, both sides want your money, want your allegiance.
Yeah, but if you push the transitioning thing, right, that lowers the amount of people in the world, in our country, because that's less children being able to be born, because you don't have your ovaries anymore, you don't have a uterus, or you don't have your testicles, so you can't produce sperm to make babies. You know what I mean? And unless they're going to plan on growing them in a laboratory and making them, make them all blonde-haired and blue-eyed, or I don't know, like the Hitler thing wanted. He wanted all these.
Brave New World, 1984.
Yeah,
whole idea.
They're
gonna basically genetically check every single person that's didn't transition, still has their uterus, and it's Handmaid's Tale. But again, they get it wrong. It's reverse. It's not the right.
But the thing is, when you have less people, you have less money, because you have less money because there's less people working to pay taxes and stuff.
No. Because that's the reset. That's the reset. You have a set number of people, and they keep on printing money and money and money and money. If there are less people and they have more money, then that's how then inflation will rise. Because again, think about it. In 1923, 100 years ago, how much was a suit? How much was a house? How much was a car? How much? Everything was less, very, very cheap. Like you get a full suit for like what, $90 or less, or not even that, like 5 and dime and all that stuff. Even everything was very cheap, 5 cents, this and that. The money, the value of it hasn't changed. Just the fact that they've been printing goes up. That's why when you look at the old newspapers, everything was very cheap. No, the value has been diluted. So if there's less people, then that's the whole idea that another baby boom will be created. That's the whole idea. It happens over and over and again. It's a cycle. We haven't learned from history.
Yeah, I believe that. Someone, RPG Grandma said, let me bring it up here, that they want only
Yes.
licensed births. So just like in China, you're only allowed to have one child. I don't know if they're still able to do that, but they passed
They got rid of it.
Okay, because it did make a difference, didn't it?
Yeah, China's now gonna again, but that's what they want. China is losing people, but that's what they want. They want less people because for the greater good, for the planet, we'll have less people, less carbon. Because again, the carbon they want to get rid of is you.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. It's to me, it's so scary watching this science fiction film lay out in front of us
I'm
in
done with it.
reality.
I don't know. I don't know. I want to follow the path of Julian Assange. And
Yeah,
just
but
just
see, and look at
search
him.
for
He's still
everything and
locked
publish
up.
it and tell
He's
everybody
still
and look
locked up
around. I'll
because
be
he
like,
can't come out and tell anybody any of the stuff that he knows, and they won't let him out. They're going to make him stay where he's at until he dies because they just want to get rid of him.
yeah,
They
the
don't want
greatest terrorist,
anyone
Assange and Snowden.
that's out there telling the truth, like Tucker. I mean, to me, Tucker is putting a big target on himself by doing these shows. Same as that one kid. What was the name of that show that took it away from him? We talked about him last week, and I still have a hard time.
James O'Keefe?
Yeah, James O'Keefe.
Oh,
He's the same thing. You know, they just do everything they can to discredit anybody that speaks out or has any evidence that they don't like. You know what I mean? So it's like, he's
come
putting a
at me,
big old
bro.
fire.
That's why again, use my real name. I post everything and they can't you take me down. You're so afraid of me, then try it.
Mm-hmm.
Period.
I mean, that's why, a lot of people don't want, when I talk to them about what I want to talk about on our show, because I want to help people understand and see behind the curtain. They say, well, you might lose your channel. I'm like, oh, well, I'm not monetized. I'm not doing this to make a bunch of money and to get thousands of subscribers and stuff like that. I'm doing it because I like what I'm doing, because it's fun. I'm meeting new people, and I'm liking that I'm learning how to do this stuff, and the fact that it makes me feel good to know that people might actually want to listen to what we have to say.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes any sense, but okay, let's
No,
go
I
back.
hear you.
Go back and hear some more now.
Was in Obama's orbit.
Yeah.
Yes. Interesting. So he knew Barack Obama, and in his view, Barack Obama liked the same kind of partying you were looking for.
Yeah.
Okay. So sex and drugs and upwards.
The sex part I wasn't so sure about until, of course, you make your move, but it became obvious very quick. The coke part I thought was interesting because of the way that I had brought it up.
So I'm stepping on your story. So you pull up, and I apologize. So you pull up to this bar. The driver is basically scouting some dude for you to hang out with.
Correct.
There's this guy, Barack Obama. Have you ever heard of Barack Obama?
Never. Okay. Never. We're having drinks. I mentioned the fact that I could use something to wake up. I was extremely exhausted.
So you went into the bar?
Yes, sir.
What kind of bar was it?
I'm trying to remember. I've been trying to remember the name. I know that the glasses had 3 X's on them because I remember taking one home for a friend of mine.
But I mean, generally characterize it. Was it
working
class bar,
no,
gay
it was
bar,
upscale,
strip bar?
It was upscale, quiet. Wasn't really that.
Like a gay bar.
Yeah, exactly.
Really didn't
there are
have
a lot
a
of
lot
them
of
here in
energy
Chicago.
to it. It was more relaxed, more like a lounge, as opposed to somewhere where people would go and get loud and crazy.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a disco type.
Made it easier to
No.
talk.
No, they're not going to.
Like I said, when I brought up the fact that I could use something to wake up, he immediately knew what I was referring to. Had made it clear that I was looking for coke, and I really was, and had made the suggestion that he knew where we could get it, and we left to go get it.
Interesting. Did he say what he did for a living?
Nope. I had no idea that he was a representative in the Illinois House. I had no idea he was in politics. I just knew that he was supposedly married and at the time was going through some issues with the marriage.
He said that?
That was made clear. Yeah.
Did he say what kind of issues?
No.
Do you remember? No. So you said, I'm looking for something to wake up. He knows you're referring to cocaine. I know where to get it. What happens next?
We get back in the limo. The driver takes us wherever it is that Barack had instructed him to take us. I had given Barack $250 to pay for Coke. He gets out, comes back. I start putting a line on a CD tray to snort.
And you're in the limo.
Yep.
Driving or parked?
No, the driver's driving.
Yep.
I start to put a line on a CD tray, and I just happen to notice that he pulls something else out of his pocket. And next thing I know, he's got a little pipe and he's smoking. So I don't have an issue with it. I mean, some people smoke, some people snort.
Smoking the cocaine.
Yes. So as I'm doing a line, I just start. This is the part where you kind of make your move to see where things are going. So I just started rubbing my hand along his thigh to see where it was going, and it went the direction I had intended it to go. So the night became somewhat active sexually and drug-wise in the limo.
So you hit on him. Did he seem shocked by that?
Not at all.
Yeah. I mean, if you're smoking crack with a stranger in the back of a limo, like you got to.
Smoking crack with a stranger.
I'm laughing because I just realized the guy
not only
has like those things in his hands.
Yeah, it's for carpal tunnel.
No, it's too much hand jobs.
Oh, yeah, but yeah, it could be that. But I have had to wear one because I had surgery on my right hand because I got it's called de Quervain syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
It's where the sheath that goes around your tendons and stuff on your wrist starts fraying your tendons. You know, they start to fray out, and it causes a lot of pain. So I had to have surgery and have that sheath cut out, so that it would quit rubbing, because I do lots of crochet and lots of crafts and stuff.
That's happened to me.
So lots of people.
The sheath around my nerves is deteriorating.
So, and I can tell you right now that mine wasn't from giving hand jobs to guys. So who knows what his was for. I mean, but the thing is that that's what the only thing I thought of when I saw his wrist was that he is, he's having carpal tunnel or whatever from whatever it is doing. Who knows? I don't know.
That guy, I mean, I'm picking up some seriously gay vibes from him, just like not verbal cues, but like I'm getting the gaydar pangs back, and like
his voice is gay.
Well, yeah, he speaks like he's gay to me.
Yes. Well, hell yeah.
Not so much what he looks like, because he doesn't. To me, his looks don't tell me he's gay.
I know a lot of
you might know that stuff, but I wouldn't be able to tell if I just seen him sitting in a room or whatever.
Men can spot gay guys right away.
Yeah.
Well, I guess so, but I couldn't until he started to speak, because I have quite a few friends that are gay and lesbian. But I can tell you right now, most lesbian friends of mine, I couldn't tell you they were lesbians until they told me they were. So
I say I'll just say he's an Italian bassoon.
So, but I don't have a problem with him being gay. I mean, that's not a big thing to me. But it's the fact of him coming out and being able to tell something that the government didn't want anybody to know. You know what I mean? And
they paid a lot of money to keep this shit quiet for years and decades.
And it worked. Look how many people were involved. But look how many people were involved to keep this hush hush for all this time. I mean, people, that's what should be blowing people's minds, is that the fact that the conspiracy. Media, all these people in Illinois and everywhere in every state, the United States of America, were able to keep this hush hush.
Yeah, and then again, so long. They push us until we fight back, and no one has, because again, the biggest joke of all was when he became president, he got the Nobel Prize for peace. Yeah. That is a joke. Yeah. That is a complete joke. And so then again, let's give him a pro. And nobody said anything, because that's again. We can do that. Now let's push everything. Let's push it all.
Because as soon as you say anything, you're racist. That's what every single time I said anything, immediately. It didn't even matter. That had nothing to do with skin tone. It was all about his process of things that he was doing. I mean, there's white people that voted too to let little 13 or 14-year-old girls get abortions without their parents' permission. Why does that have anything to do with race? That's what. See, I don't understand any of that. To me, that doesn't make any common sense.
Because that's their default, and that's the
and
default
see,
that was
that's
registered.
when all this stuff, when Obama was running, before he even won, that's when I started noticing that they're pushing these liberal agendas on us, and you can't say anything. It's either you're a Nazi or you're racist. So I still talked about it because to me, children, anything to do with kids, I didn't care what they called me. I still stood up for the kids. I didn't care. The kids, I don't care if the kid's black, orange, green, purple. I could care less. A kid is a kid, and a kid should be a kid as long as possible, and let them be a child. Okay, not to be forcing things on them that their little minds are not, or their bodies are even supposed to even be anywhere near or even thinking about. And that's when I saw some of the videos of stuff that what's her name, darn it, Oprah Winfrey was coming out talking about grooming kids, and that it's okay for kids to know this, that, and the other, and you should tell them about it at school and things like that. And I was like, hell no, that's between a parent or a grandparent. Whoever's raising the child is the person that should say those things, talk about those things to a child. I just thought it was disgusting, and I could see it back then. That was, his first term when I started noticing this stuff, and I was speaking out against it. Had nothing to do with race. It was just that those people just happened to be black, and both of them were talking about doing things that I thought were wrong when it came to children. So, that was just my point of view on that. But Epstein was white, and I think he's a disgusting pig, and I'm glad he's not around.
Yeah, I'm going to find that client list. It's the next. I think that's the next thing I'm going to try. I'm going to try and figure it out and get it out there. Well, I already know it's everybody. It's all the corruption. It's everything. The military is complex. Hollywood, news media, government. They're all fucking each other, and it's all back same deals. And you see that, and it's not just Democrats. It's not just Republicans. It's the entire system.
Isn't. It's sick people. That's who it is. They're all sick. Anyone that would do anything like that is sick, and they shouldn't be allowed to do that. They shouldn't be able to get away with it.
Especially religion.
Yeah. So here we go. We're going to go some more.
Imagine it. I look at it this way. I've done a lot of crazy things in my lifetime. I'm a pretty good judge of character, and I pretty much know whether or not I can move in a certain direction with an individual. I didn't feel that I was going in the wrong direction. I just wasn't so sure how much I could trust the individual at first. And that was probably one of my bigger concerns. But the fact that I was already becoming somewhat buzzed, you kind of throw caution to the wind.
You weren't sure you could trust the individual. What does that mean?
When you meet someone out of the blue and you go to a level that you're doing drugs with, or you're giving money to purchase drugs, or even for sexual activity, you have to be sure that you can trust them. And when I say trust, I mean that you're not going to end up being robbed, or that you're not going to end up having a knife stuck into you, from one direction or another, or that you're not going to pull up somewhere and all of a sudden the car door is going to open and you got 5 people pulling you out of it.
Totally.
That's what I mean when I say trust someone.
And you've been around at this point in your life, big time.
Yeah.
Right. So probably not your first time in a situation like this.
Not at all. And that's why I said I pretty much know where I can go and at what point.
So you start rubbing his leg, and he's, I think, I'll just be totally blunt with you, like a man who's not into gay sex would be like, whoa, settle down.
Trust me, if it was something that you were not interested in, and you're right, I've had guys that I read wrong that would literally try to break your hand.
For sure.
If you went that route. So it's not like this was something that he wasn't into. It's not something that he was shocked by. Shocked by, you don't get excited and you don't unbutton your pants and you don't just sit there and let it happen. So it definitely wasn't Barack's first time. That much I'm absolutely certain of. And I would almost be willing to bet you it wasn't his last.
So you performed oral sex on Barack Obama. You did. In the driver's up front.
Yep.
And he's cool with this.
The driver has the partition up. He didn't have a problem with it. He didn't put it down for any reason.
I mean, he kind of set up the whole thing for this in the first place.
Exactly. And I have a funny feeling he had no bones to pick with it as far as what took place.
Yeah. So what happened after?
Afterwards, I actually went back to my hotel. I had specifically asked that he drop Barack off first, but for some reason, he and Barack chose that they would drop me off at the hotel first, and then he would take Barack. So Barack actually made the drive out to Gurnee, which is a suburb outside of Chicago, to the hotel for me to be dropped off.
What hotel was that?
It was the Comfort Inn in Gurnee.
Ooh, that sounds depressing.
Well, you have to remember it was 99.
Yeah.
And it was close to the Great Lakes Naval Facilities.
Yeah.
But I got dropped off. They left. The next day was somewhat interesting because he ends up showing up at my hotel room, which I thought was somewhat weird, but
He wanted some more.
mhm.
So when you say he showed up,
He showed up. I mean, I had no warning. I was in the room. There's a knock on the door. I open the door and he's standing there. And he's standing there with more Coke, and he comes in, and it was just like a quick, rehash or rerun from the night before.
exact same program.
Exact same program.
Was he smoking again? So Barack Obama smokes crack, and then you perform oral sex on him.
And like I said, the only reason I had come out about it is I had reached out to the campaign even in 2007, only because I saw all these kids getting excited about it.
Okay, wait. So how did that end? Like,
Same way. You get off, you finish smoking, you leave.
like, thanks, bye.
Not even a thanks.
Huh. What did you think of him?
I thought it was interesting. I thought he was definitely a con. But
What do you mean by that?
well, in my life at that point, you made it clear I had already been around.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. So when people are doing things because they actually really enjoy it, or they're sincere, or they're looking, for a connection, or they're doing something because they're looking for an in, or they're looking for a hook, or it's a game.
Yeah.
So for me, I felt that it was a game for him. It was like, okay, what am I going to get out of it? Or is there something I can get out of it other than just, the sexual part?
Right.
And lucky for me, I wasn't going back to Chicago anytime soon. So it really didn't matter.
So you were left with a bad taste in your mouth.
Something. Yeah.
Okay.
That is the best line.
But look how he said that with a straight face.
Exactly.
You know what
I'm
I
glad
mean?
he did that.
But yeah.
So this confirms everything that I witnessed. Yeah, they basically the annals, I don't know how to, the elite, whatever, the so-called elite, the so-called control. They just it's about power. It's about sex. It's about control. It's about domination. It's about they want everything. And
it's about being able to do anything you want. Just think about that for a minute. If you could step out of your house tomorrow with all the money and all the cars, or all the friends, or have anything at your fingertips that you could possibly want, how would that change your life? And once you get that and you start having that on a daily basis, you can eat whatever you want. You can eat in any restaurant you want. You can have any person that you want. You snap your finger and say, hey, I want to have that person tonight, or I want to be with that person tonight, and I want to go to this place. And you start doing that. How do you give that up? You know what I mean?
It's again, it itself is a drug.
What, Bruce?
I'll tell you how you give it up. I had a job that paid me like $90,000 to $100,000 for a few years. And I bought all these miniatures, right? Because I figured at some point I was going to get off that train of watching the fucking barrel price every day and begging for a job still. And at some point, there's this thing called the bust in the oil industry where, like, you're just out of a job. If you're not at this level or higher, if you're not in this room at this time with these cool kids in the oil industry, you're out of a job. You're out of a job. It's over. And the way you get out of it, the way you transition out of a job like that you'll probably not make good money for another 5 years until you've proven yourself at another job to where you can get a appreciable level like that. You find a hobby. That way, when you go home, you don't stare at your poverty and you're going, it's all their fault. That's how you get out of it. But a lot of these people, a lot of these guys that are in politics, they get into that. They will start letting people puppeteer them, and like, I'll do whatever you want. Just make sure I stay in power. Just make sure I have this office to go to work to tomorrow. Just make sure I get this election. And they don't know how to transition out. They don't realize, like, it's going to stop. And when they make the realization, the demon on their shoulders, like, do you really want to give this up? And that voice right there, that voice haunts you. It fucking follows you. It makes you cry as you're trying to lay down and you can't pay all your bills. That shit right there will eat you alive. So you got to find something that's bigger than you that you can stay interested in. And I found something which I knew I always wanted to get into dumb shit like this, but I'm not making $100,000 a year anymore. I'm just driving a shit sucky truck, and I'm doing light plumbing work. And I know my boss, he ain't going to pay me the fucking $100,000 that I want. I'll have to transition over to another job, or I'll have to level up so exponentially that he will be a fool to let me go somewhere else and make 150 to 200,000 by myself. So, you know, it's just one of those things, and that's how you do it. Now, a lot of people don't want to find a hobby. A lot of people don't want to find something they can focus on in their off hours. All they want to do is, like, stare at stocks and, like, I gotta get back in that $100,000 a year club. And you go,
or they want to go party every weekend, or, you know, what I'm saying is, like, you and I think that's one reason why you and I connect so well, is because we're both crafty. You know what I mean? We both love crafts. They're different types of crafts, but we understand the thought press of it, you know, what the work it takes to do it. And we love doing it. It makes us feel comfortable. It makes us feel relaxed. It takes us away from our problems. And we end up with something awesome when we're done. You know what I mean? So I think that's one reason why we really connected on that level, is because we understand, you know what I mean? When I talking about what I'm doing and you talk about, no, we don't look at each other like, oh my God, what a nut, or what a nerd, or whatever. We don't have to worry about that, because we don't see it that way. We see it as our hobby. Instead of playing golf, we craft. You know, we do arts and crafts. We work on things like that. And different people need different things to take them away from all the stress in life. But some people, making money is what they want to do, or taking money from others. So
it's interesting. I never understood that point of view, but yeah, well, thank you for telling me.
But that's just the thing, though. If you discover a trade or a craft that you have years to learn and perfect something, like, I'm still getting flow control down. I'm still figuring out how to get the brush to put on the miniature right how I need it to go. I'm still learning that. That's a stupid, silly little trick. I'm still learning it. And there's other people out there that they've gotten into other things, or like writing, or they do other stuff, or they're like Janet and they have a brother sewing machine, and they spend their available moments on that, trying to get the seams right, just trying to get hand placement right to make sure they can get a costume down. You find
straight
these,
lines.
you find these things with the curvy buttocks. There is no straight line, but with these crafts, you get a chance to see something that your normal 9 to 5 won't let you have. And a lot of what we're talking about, the white collar 9 to 5, isn't 9 to 5. It's fucking the moment you wake up to the moment you go to sleep, and you're concerned about your standard of living. you don't give a shit about the job. You don't care about what you're doing. You're addicted to your lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can finally get unaddicted from your lifestyle, when you finally can put it all down and be like, I don't want this fucking headache anymore. It's like you kick a drug habit. It's like, you know, I'm done fucking everything that looks great in San Antonio. I'm tired of Tinder. I'm tired of all this crap. And I was batting 1,000 on those miserable singles apps, by the way. And when I got out of that, when I started like taking accountability for myself in 2019, and I transitioned to being a real human, and got my job in 2020, like my ability to deal with animals exponentially grew. Like I've always been good with dogs, but like I can work. There's a job I've got where I sometimes go to the Shirts Animal Control Center or one of the other small towns around San Antonio, and I have to suck the shit out of their tanks. Well, a lot of times we can't say exactly on the manifest that we get this from the community animal shelters. We have to make up a doctor's name or dentist name and put down an address kind of close by, or you know, try to not make it to where the dump facility gets all questioning, like, why is there so much hair in your poop? I know that sounds disgusting, but follow me here. You have to figure out how you can do this, and you have to just basically, you know, like you'll figure it out. If you've ever done creative writing for a report, you police officer types know what the fuck I'm talking about. You immediately know what I'm doing, and we're not quote unquote breaking any law. But if we were to put a manifest in with 100% true, accurate information, you're going to have a lot of dump facilities not accept it. So it makes it very difficult. And so what we do is we limit ourselves to 10% of the dump load of the full tank of the truck to that hazardous stuff. Not hazardous, but to that strange stuff. It's not hazardous hazmat. I mean, all poop is hazmat, basically. Don't swim in it, Billy. You don't want to fuck.
Don't drink that.
There's people that do, and they're dumbasses. There really are. There's TikTok trends, and there's fucking YouTube challenges and fads. I can't wait for the hygiene challenges to come back, and we can see more of the numbers drop. Whenever we do this sort of thing, you have to figure out how you can put it on paper to where it doesn't raise any eyebrows, and you can get it offloaded from the truck, and nobody says shit, and there's not an audit 3 years later. And that's the majority of where a lot of dump companies foul up, is where they put the accurate address, they put the actual name of the individual or the facility, and like the veterinary offices are getting questioned about things, and then it traces back to the dump company, then it goes back to, or the septic company, then it goes to the dump itself, and now here's a question, and you have to figure things out smartly. And what we figured out doing was that, like, being honest, where like I just use the person's name that I get it from at the county office, and then after that, nobody asks questions. They don't even cross-reference the address now, and they haven't done that in over 4 years. So I'm like, Anyway, but you understand, like, there's got to be a trail that's out there, and a smart sleuth can figure out the trail of how things are going. If they have the numbers that align, they can figure out addresses and names, and they can see exactly why things are put down as they are. And I kind of talked myself into a circle, but what were we talking about?
We're talking about the love machine,
the
Barack Obama.
Yeah, the love machine, Barack Obama. And the thing is that, like, I wouldn't have figured this out if I hadn't, like, started working more with animals as I have. And that's like, I got rid of the crap job that I had in the oil field, and now I can literally go up to stupid stray dogs at the animal shelter, like the ones that are like really vicious. And I'm not talking about the Pits and the Rottweilers and the fucking, like, the Staffordshire Terriers. I'm talking about the Chihuahuas. Those little shits, like, they just kill them. But if there's a test of about 3 of these community offices had, where if a third party vendor can go up to the dog and, like, get it friendly, they'll try to treat the dog and get the dog dewormed able to be presented and otherwise worked to where he can get back out in the public again, get a family. And what I was saying was that, like, basically by me losing that shitty lifestyle, I've been able to actually extend myself out. And I know this sounds pathetic, but they use me at a few of the facilities to go like hang with dogs. If I've got an extra half hour or 20 minutes, go see what you can do with this dog. He's bit 3 of my employees. We're going to euthanize him if you don't. Do you understand? Okay.
Yeah.
Let me see what he's like. And that's something that I've had happen quite a bit. And I didn't mean to talk myself into a 2 or 3 minute soliloquy about how much
Well, that's okay. It's just a shit show. It doesn't have to be perfect. But okay, we'll go watch a little bit more of this interview.
Oh, that and yeah.
Did you talk to him again?
I did not. In fact,
And did you have any idea, even though you had sex with him twice, you did cocaine with him, watched him smoke crack twice, you had no idea who he was?
I had no idea who he was until I'm sitting in my house in Tequila, Nayarit, Mexico in 2004. And he walked on that stage
In Boston.
in the DNC convention. And I literally hit the floor. I just hit the floor and was.
Wait, so you're watching the Democratic convention from Mexico?
I was
and the guy that smoked crack in your comfort inn with you.
I was laughing so hard.
And you were sure it was him?
I was absolutely positive.
It's amazing.
I don't forget people I've met. I don't forget people I have spent time with. I just don't.
And just to restate, because I think you affirmed this, but he used his real name when you were with him.
Yes.
He calls himself Barack or Barry?
Barack.
Barack.
And so did the driver.
That's not his real name.
And that's why at first, when everybody was referring to him as Barry, I just didn't understand or catch on. Because like I said, I didn't know that much about him other than the fact that, hey, you know, you hook up, you know, today it's Grinder. Back then it was, you know.
The limo driver.
Yeah. A limo driver or a bartender, you know.
Oh my God.
You ask and somebody knows somebody or somebody doesn't.
Amazing. Amazing. So you're sitting there in Mexico watching this.
Take care.
You think, that's the guy I had sex with who smoked crack it with me. What do you think?
Like I said, I just started cracking up. I freaked out. I had even pointed out to some friends of mine that were at the house that night. And I told them, I said, you're not going to believe this. I said, I blew this guy twice. You know, and they just start cracking up. But that's the thing about me. I've never been in the closet. I've never been, I mean, I'm always very direct and blunt. And
look,
you know, and I'm just like
flabbergasted.
This is unreal, you know. And I had no idea that he was going to run, you know, in 2008. But I was back from Mexico. But it was a strange feeling sitting there watching him walk across that stage and realizing who he was.
Huh. So what did you do? You said you reached out to the campaign?
Well, I didn't do anything in 2004, but when he announced his run for 2008, I did reach out to the campaign in late 2007 because I had seen a lot of these college kids talking about how thrilled they were, how there was a candidate who was completely honest about his entire life, his drug use, you know, what he did is when he was in school, you know, the constant back and forth. 1 minute is, yes, I did cocaine when I was younger, or no, I never did cocaine, but I smoked weed. So I just simply pointed out that all I was asking was, look, why don't you just simply come out and say, I did coke and I've done it as recently as 1999. You know, just tell the truth. Put it out there and be honest and let it stay as the truth rather than this back and forth. Never did hear anything back from them immediately.
Who did you reach out to? Do you remember?
I reached out to actually David Axelrod's office in Chicago. I'm trying to remember the letters because it was actually 3 letters.
And did you say I had sex with Barack Obama?
This is the interesting part. My first contact with the campaign never mentioned the sex whatsoever. That was actually brought to my attention by someone who eventually reached out to me in late 2007, claiming to be with the campaign, but wasn't with the campaign.
What do you mean that was pointed out to you? So you never told anyone
never,
in the Obama campaign you'd had sex with Barack
not
Obama?
in 2007, no.
Interesting. But they knew?
Yep.
How? Who? Well, that's weird.
I'm assuming Barack himself, because the phone calls that I got in late 2007 came from a gentleman that I have repeatedly identified as Donald Young. And it was Donald Young who had mentioned to me that the campaign was not going to acknowledge the sex and the drug interaction. And I was somewhat taken back because, like I said, I had never mentioned the sex to the campaign at all at that point. I had in 2008, but I had not in 2000.
Okay, that is amazing. And I want to get to who Donald Young was in just a minute, but I apologize for being a bad interviewer, but let me just ask the obvious question, which what was Obama like on crack?
Actually, and I hate to say this because some people are going to think I'm really crazy. I knew a lot of people that smoked it because I was in Miami in the early 80s when it became quite popular. Similar to a friend of mine that I knew in Miami, gets extremely high, calm, almost euphoric. And then as it starts to come down, you know, the twitching and the looking, anything that looks white that's sitting on the seat or the floor, you assume is another piece that fell off that, you know, you can pick up and smoke. But while he was high, pretty much the same.
Pretty controlled.
Pretty controlled, euphoric, talkative, but not really saying anything.
So it was like his presidency.
A lot.
You got it. That's it right there. You nailed it.
Was it your impression? And
Perfect.
We got to talk about that for a second. So, Ruben, what do you think of that? Those few comments.
Again, I am leery of this because it can backfire and be used to just say, yes, I'm gay, because Michelle's on her trip, all that stuff, and then no one's going to care. Just like we came out, the CIA did JFK and then the RFK issue and all that stuff. No one's going to care because this is basically, again, we put it out there. We will know, but then we will basically be called, you know, homophobic because we are bringing it up. That's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I know. Is that we already know that because of what's already happened so far.
Right.
You know,
and they're going to basically rally around Michele. And that's what I'm saying. Gavin Newsom is a time bomb that will not work. In California, it does, and not the nation. Michele has a shot, and that's what they're trying to do. The first woman president, and they'll make it.
Yeah, but do you think that? I don't know.
Sorry, Michael.
I'm just trying to think about this whole thing with Michele. Just like I've made this comment 4 or 5 times on this show, I've said, I have never met another person in my life or watched any other interviews in my life where a husband that had been married to his wife and they have children together for years and years and years call his wife a different name, a man's name. So, you know, I mean, you're laughing, I know, Bruce, but I have said this. I've like, you're making love to your wife and you call her, instead of Michele, you say, oh, Mike. Oh, sorry, Michele. I mean, who does that? Or he's in a conversation about something that's going on when he was out in the woods being interviewed by that one gentleman that we saw in that little video we watched. And he said, Michele.
That doesn't make any sense.
Who does that? Nobody does it unless they're married to a man. Exactly. And then at home, they call each other Mike and Barack or Barry, Mike and Barry or whatever. It's hard to step in and out of 2 different, totally different personalities. You see what I mean? So that's why when the first time he did that, I was like, I knew it. I told people that his wife was not a woman, because no husband would do that. It's just not something that would slip out unless you were married to a man or someone of the same sex. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. If two men want to be lovers, that's fine. Or two women. It's a fact that they were pulling the wool over our eyes. The Americans, they were lying to us, the people they wanted to vote for them, and they're lying to us. And lying should be a reason not to vote for someone. Why vote for a liar? I don't want to vote for a liar.
Here's a very plausible way of thinking about this. You know that the furries or the weird people, they have weird tails and they wear these things. They wear out in public.
Yeah, they're hooked to butt plugs.
Yeah, exactly. Well, maybe let's say that she is a woman, but she's addicted to wearing dildos.
Yeah.
And then that's what she wants. So then when they have sex like she has sex like a man. So then when he treats her like a man all the time. The reason I'm saying this is because, again, I say the biggest bombshell is she goes away. I'm now Michael Obama. I transitioned because of the pain I went through about this, this gay. I can't do it anymore. And I want to live my true life and be my own person. And today I'm running for president. That's going to be, again, it goes down the path. Because again, why is everything happening the way it happened? Ever since he said, we're going to transform America. He said that. He's going to transform America. So that's what they're doing.
No longer a Christian nation.
Yes, that's another thing he said. But again, I have to warn you, that is the other side of evil. And again, people will not like it when I'm saying it, but all religions are based on the same thing. It's the other side. They are just as evil. 100%. Yep. I'm serious. You got to be careful. It's another cult. All of them.
So here we go. We're going to start it up again. This thing.
You would, strictly speaking, no. But was it your impression that this was the first time you'd ever smoked crack?
No. You don't. First of all, you don't buy crack, get in a limo, and have a pipe in your pocket if it's the first time you smoke crack.
Yeah. His face.
So I read about your story. You've been written about not very much.
That lingering look.
But I never
read I get it.
That Donald Young, this man Donald Young, called you and told you that he knew you'd had sex with Barack Obama.
That was the contact in late 2007 that I had, that originally came under the guise that they were part of the Obama campaign.
So who was Donald Young?
Donald Young is a choir director and a school teacher. He was the choir director at Jeremiah Wright's church in Chicago, the same church that Barack Obama went to. He was also a very openly gay black man, but very well respected.
Did you know him?
I had never met him. I had not even realized that the person who was communicating with me had been killed until a good 2 months after.
So I'm going to get to that. So Donald Young is the choir director at Jeremiah Wright's church.
Yes.
And is it publicly confirmed that he knew Barack Obama?
Oh, yes. Yes. Donald Young's own mother has repeatedly said that she feels that her son died to protect Barack Obama.
Oh,
it's just interesting that Donald Young would have called you.
Again,
he's not working directly for the campaign that we know.
It's right there, right in front of you. I'm sorry to say this, but here's the idea. Again, for the greater good. That is their mantra. They will self-delete for their God, their what they want. They believe in the cause. They want to erase. They will do that. They will do that because again, they're praising their, whatever they want. It's
the same thing with a bunch of different religions: Scientology, Muslims, Christians, the Jews, all of them.
Yeah,
every
definitely.
different
They
religion.
want power.
You have different people who have done different things throughout history of each of those religions, or
Back and
any
forth.
religion, all
Pendulum
religions,
swings back and
Wiccans,
forth.
yeah, Wiccans. I mean, there's so many different types of religions, and someone in every single one of them have done something to sacrifice themselves for the betterment of their gods. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yep.
So, yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying. And
But they know the truth. Again, there is the truth, and then they break off and have their own sects, and they do these things. Hebrews believe one thing, this and that, and then there's all that stuff. Because again, these are governor, like the popes or whatever they are, rabbis, whatever, synagogue stuff. These are their centers of control. And then government is the same thing, Hollywood's the same way, news is the same thing. It's all about control, one way or the other. They want power. They want souls.
Yeah.
They want allegiance.
Exactly.
But somehow he has a copy of your letter. It sounds like maybe Donald Young was on cleanup duty.
Somehow he has my phone number. Exactly. And that's exactly what it was. Because like I said, the first calls were, I was led to believe that he was with the campaign. The last conversation that I'd had with Donald Young, he had actually come clean and said that he had been asked to call me and that his job was to get as much information from me as far as who I had spoken to, who I had given any information to, and to get it to them. He had told me to be careful, to watch myself, and to understand that the Barack Obama campaign was not in any way, shape, or form going to acknowledge anything or come out about anything. And he had made it clear that he had known Barack for quite some time and had had an intimate relationship with Barack for quite some time.
He told you that?
Yep. And that's when I knew that I could at least trust what I was being told. Originally, I had made it clear I didn't feel comfortable with the phone call because something just didn't seem right. But after a couple of calls, it started to all fall into place. And I had said the same thing to myself.
Wait, so you didn't know Donald Young existed?
Nope.
It sounds like you're not very political anyway. You weren't.
I wasn't at the time.
And you were just annoyed that Obama was talking about cocaine and lying about it.
I was extremely annoyed.
But the sex part had nothing to do with it.
No.
Then Donald Young, who you don't know, never heard of, calls up and says, by the way, I know you had sex with Barack Obama. I did too.
Yep. Pretty much.
I mean, this is a longer conversation, which we're going to have in a minute. But I mean, Obama has a wife and kids, and he's telling America what a great family man he is. Is that, or maybe you've seen this a lot? What do you think of that?
Well, in 2008, I made it clear that Obama was having marital problems in '99, and everybody in the world said that I was crazy, didn't know what I was talking about. And yet, what was it, 6 months ago, Barack Obama comes out and tells the world that exactly what I said was the truth. In 1999, he and Michele came very close to divorce. Really. 15 years later, what I say is the truth, but 15 years earlier, I'm a liar and a fraud. It's interesting how things eventually come out. But yes, believe me, I've known guys that were completely happily married that will screw around with another man on a weekly basis and think nothing of it.
Huh. Is it your sense that that's who Obama is, just transactional, or that he's bisexual, or like, what is this?
No, my feeling that Barack Obama is probably, he's definitely bi. I think there is a lot of transactional qualities to him, because I think whatever he does, it is looking for a hook or looking for a benefit.
Yeah. That's consistent with his public persona too, I would say. So Donald Young calls you. You actually end up, sounds like you kind of like and trust Donald Young.
I did.
Did he say how long he'd had a relationship with?
He had just said that they had been intimate for years.
Intimate for years. And what happened to Donald Young?
Donald Young was shot dead in his apartment, second floor in Chicago, Illinois. I think it was December 23rd of 2007. According to the police report and the death certificate, multiple gunshot wounds, close range, no forced entry, second floor apartment. yet not a single resident in the building heard a single shot, but yet they can hear every shot that's fired in the street outside. Jeremiah Wright announces that Donald Young's dead earlier that morning, even before it was announced, even before he was declared dead. I mean, a lot of it just didn't make sense.
This is all public, and you can
Yep.
look this up, and it's still on the internet. Tell us about Donald Young's mother.
Norma Jean Young actually is a former Chicago Police Department employee.
Really?
Really. She had worked for the Chicago PD. I had
Corrupt.
spoken with his sister Lorraine shortly after I realized that he was the gentleman that I had been speaking with. There were people at the time that were attempting to have Lorraine and other members of Donald's family file criminal complaints against me with Chicago because they wanted me arrested. They were trying to get the family to say that I was trying to con them or something.
January 6th.
To my knowledge, they never did any such thing. But at the same time, I continue to respect Lorraine and the rest of the family. But Mrs. Young had
I
finally
respect your
come
family,
out
but I swallowed your
and
son
told
twice.
David Nelson, who was a reporter that I knew out of Minnesota, that she was convinced that Donald had been killed, that his death was to protect his friend Obama. And she confirmed that they had, in fact, been extremely close for years.
I mean, did she confirm that they'd had sex, Obama and Donald Young?
Her confirmation wasn't referencing, or she did not specifically say that they were sexually involved. She just simply said that they had been intimate friends for years.
But she believed the Obama campaign was responsible.
She believed that his death was due to protecting Barack Obama. And I made the same argument that people said, well, how are you accusing Barack? I said, I'm not accusing Barack of anything. But I said, I'm willing to bet my life that Barack Obama and Jeremiah Wright both know or have knowledge of who killed Donald Young. There is no doubt in my mind about that.
Well, this was a guy who was clearly going to be the next leader of the world. You know, people kill each other over insurance claims, over bar fights. There's a lot at stake here. I have no knowledge of this. I'm not alleging a murder by the Obama campaign or its allies, but it's not a crazy thing to wonder, obviously.
No, and the only thing after I realized what had happened with Donald Young, the only thing I'd ever asked was the same thing that I had done. And I said, you know, if you want to accuse me of being crazy, you know, release your phone records. You know, turn over your phone records from your phone in '99.
I remember him talking about that.
Year. I mean, it's that easy. If you've got nothing to hide, it's not like they're going to be made public. Turn them over to authorities. Let them investigate. Let them look. But no.
So now seems like a fair time to ask about your motive. So your initial motive was you were annoyed because you believed or you knew that Obama was lying about his drug use.
Right.
But then after the Donald Young exchange, where he brings up the sex that you had with Obama, what was the point at which you decided, I'm just going to bring this to the country?
Well, in January of 2008, after having contacted the campaign yet again, I had decided, you know what, screw it. I'm just going to make a YouTube video and put it up, which I did. It wasn't because I was looking for anything out of it. In fact, if I had even stopped long enough to anticipate the blowback and the consequences of speaking out, me being me, it probably would not have stopped me. It might have slowed me a little bit, but it would not have stopped me. But I figured if you're going to call him out, you can't call him out on part of it. And people said, well, why didn't you just talk about the drug use and leave the sex out? And I said, because If I said he just used drugs and then you found out later it was drugs and sex, you would accuse me of lying because I didn't mention the sex. So my opinion was, if you're going to tell the story, then you tell the whole story and let the chips fall where they may. So that's exactly what I did.
And so you made a YouTube video. By the way, I looked for it last night. I couldn't find it.
That's because YouTube gave access to my account to someone shortly after the polygraph test. And I was never given access back to it before the video was actually deleted.
Are you serious?
See?
Oh, yeah.
Everyone
YouTube gave access to the
is
account and the
conspiracy.
video
Yeah.
was deleted.
I believe
Microsoft
that about
gave
YouTube.
access to
Microsoft,
my
look at that.
Hotmail account.
Microsoft,
All of my emails
YouTube.
were
Yeah.
circulating the internet, and vacation replies were set up on my email telling people that I was busy giving blowjobs and would get back with them when I was done. And oh yeah,
Discreditation.
Man, they wanted Obama to be president.
yep.
Yes.
And they wanted me to be the biggest fraud and nutcase that ever existed.
So I got to ask you, I mean, you know, I wasn't there. I can only assess what you're saying. I don't see any obvious motive for you for gain, financial gain. You're not going to get rich doing this. And in fact, you haven't. You've gotten impoverished as a result of it. But like, if I'm a reporter, well, I was a reporter at the time. I remember thinking, well, that's an interesting story. But it seemed like nobody in the media wanted to follow up with you. And some people, like Ben Smith at Politico, who's a liar and a shill posing as a journalist, I reread the piece last night that he wrote saying, oh, it's ridiculous. Right off the first graph, it's ridiculous, these claims.
Well, I think I have an answer for why a lot of reporters did not want to follow up. And I think it would have something to do with what David Axelrod told a old Chicago Sun-Times reporter.
Yeah.
Or no, a Chicago Tribune reporter, John Crutzen.
Axelrod had been a reporter in Chicago before he went into politics.
Well, John Crutzen worked for the Chicago Tribune. And John Crutzen actually came to Duluth, Minnesota and sat down with me and talked with me. And John Crutzen had told me point blank that before he had flown out, that he had spoken to Axelrod, and that Axelrod had told him that they were aware of who I was and that it was their intentions to destroy me. And that if any reporter had mentioned me to them, they would be completely cut off, and that outlet would be completely cut off from access to the Obama campaign for the duration of the year. So I think that had a lot to do with why reporters didn't bring things up to the campaign, because everybody wanted access to, you know, the new savior. Nobody wanted to be blackballed and denied access to a historic campaign.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's the guy's running for president and credible information comes out that he's smoking crack and having sex with dudes, I mean, that seems like a story.
Well, it would be a story if the media really cared about telling people the truth about anything.
Yeah, there you go.
They're liars. And that Ben Smith is a liar.
Oh, Ben Smith's more than a liar.
For
but
sure.
you're right.
What do you mean more than a liar?
They're all
He's
full
a
of it.
complete fraud. Ben Smith, you know, I hear people talking about grifters. Ben Smith to me is a grifter. Ben Smith wrote an article saying that I had a 27-year
Criminal history.
career criminal. And the funny thing is if you look my criminal history up, which I've published myself and provided from day one, my criminal history goes from 1980 to 1986. And everything I've ever done, I've owned it. I've never wasted taxpayer money. And any sentence I've ever been given, I've served. But he also said that I was a fugitive, that I was avoiding prosecution. I was trying to prevent from going to jail. None of that was true. But the media ran with it. Even Greta linked to it and said that people asked me why I would not interview Larry Sinclair. This is why. And she linked to Ben Smith's article. And notice his article was published right when I was preparing to do the press conference at the National Press Club. But hey, the National Press Club, so-called beacon for freedom of the press, they were just as involved in trying to keep the story from ever being.
It's interesting. I watched the other night I watched your entire National Press Club appearance, and in it you detail your intersections with law enforcement in exhaustively.
Yep.
Every time you've been arrested, you explain it. Every time you've done time, you explain it. So you didn't, from what I could tell, hide your past.
No, why? You can't. I mean, I've never hidden my past in regular everyday life. Why would I hide it in something like this?
So, I mean, you're the only person on this set who's had sex with Barack Obama. So I think you're, I don't know, expert on Obama, but you know more than most people. What's your assessment of him now?
I think he's the same grifter that he's always been. I think he's still very power hungry. I think Obama is calling the shots in the current Biden administration more than people are willing to admit.
They would take him off Fox News if he said that.
I had made a statement
that would have gone. That would have gone away.
I felt that Barack Obama being elected was going to push race relations in this country backwards 50 years. I am absolutely positive I was.
Yes,
see, every single every minute that goes by in his conversation of everything he's brought up, I believe him more and more and more, because every single thing he said is come to pass. But the thing is, if you go back and watch his old interview, he says the same stuff.
Yep.
Pretty much
and
exactly
Papa
the
Cotton
same.
confirms.
Yeah.
Papa Cotton confirms everything, because he says his story is the same every time he tells it. This is important to know.
Well, see, that's like what do I always say in most of my things is that if you're always yourself, you don't have to make up shit to try to remember, oh, what did I say last time? So I make sure I say the same thing. If you always tell the truth, then you don't get caught with your hands in the cookie jar. You're like, oh, what am I supposed to do? You know, because you're telling the truth. You're being yourself. And to me, this guy, I mean, some of the things that he said, I'm like, well, what the, I'm shocked by it, but I believe him. Maybe they can call me some kind of whack job or whatever, because I believe this guy, but I really do believe him. And every single time I've heard him speak, this is the third time through the years that I'm getting to watch this interview. And every single time he said just almost identically the exact same meaning of everything he said. So I believe this guy. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I definitely believe him. I think everything he said is true.
Yeah, but I say the following: people will not care.
I know.
Sadness.
They haven't since the first time he said it.
Not to belittle anybody, but they're distracted by other things.
I know they'd rather let the news and the politicians lie and make shit up, and they just live in la la land. They're in the Matrix, basically all these people that are just zombies walking around doing their own thing. They're already hooked up to the Matrix, and there's nothing you can do about it. It's a few of us that unplugged ourselves and we're like, oh, what the blank? We need to start pulling everybody's plugs and wake people up.
Are still plugged in.
Yeah, that's right. They don't want to be unplugged. They want to go back into the Matrix and stay there. And that's the sad truth about reality.
You've been vindicated on that,
because race relations in this country has not only gotten pushed back, but everything's about race now. Everything is about victimization now.
It's interesting though. He's obviously a race hater, very anti-white, but he had sex with a white man. So you have to ask, like, is that real?
Oh, for him, of course. I would be willing to bet you I'm not the only white person he's ever had sex with, or male anyway.
Yeah.
It's a control thing again.
But hey, he's got what he wants.
But you got to remember, he looks down at everyone. Everyone's beneath him.
That's why.
So it doesn't matter whether you're black, white, or a woman or a man. You're beneath him. So it doesn't matter. You're all the same.
He's not asking the right question. How was he as a partner?
And I think it's going.
Remember, think about it. He received from this guy, so he didn't think well of this guy.
It's very insightful, because I knew a lot of people who weren't liberal who voted for Obama purely on the race question. And they weren't all self-hating, guilty whites. They were like nice, normal people who wanted to see race relations improve. And that really was the core promise of his campaign. And a lot of people bought it. A lot of smart people bought it. And I saw why they bought it.
I didn't.
But you didn't buy it. How did you know that?
I saw it.
I grew up in South Carolina in the 1960s and 70s. Okay. I've been gay and knew I was gay since 6 years old. Never hid it. Okay.
Yeah.
I grew up in rural South Carolina. And my first job as a kid was cropping tobacco for a family by the name of Rose that were a Black family living across the road from my grandparents. So I grew up as a kid, a gay kid, in an era and an area that would get you killed being gay just as quick as you could be hanging being Black. So I actually knew the other side of the track before I knew that I was supposed to act like I was above this or above that. I've watched it my whole life. I know when someone plays, when it comes to acting like they're one way and then in reality they're the biggest racists or bigots alive on both sides. Okay. I knew because he was saying one thing in the campaign, and then if people started to actually listen to what he was saying, remember there was a time when he actually told supporters to show up at a fight with a knife, get in people's face, argue with them if they didn't agree to support him, if they didn't agree to vote for him, argue with them, convince them. Come on. You don't make statements like that and tell me that you're not going to make things about race. He did.
Man, that is the one part of your story that we can say unequivocally you're telling the truth about. You saw that and most people didn't. Larry Sinclair, I'm really grateful that you came. I wish I had interviewed you in 2008. I don't think
did he
anyone
come?
would have run the interview. But anyway, thank you.
You're welcome.
Very much.
Thank you.
Great to meet you.
You too.
So is there any residual DNA? Do you have any residual DNA evidence? How does Barry like to take it? Did he tell you suck my cock, Barry?
Well, the thing is, it seems I don't see. This is one thing I didn't understand. I don't understand a lot about same-sex relationships, anyways. But I've never delved into that stuff.
Mental illness.
But I don't understand how you can have a relationship with someone when you're the one always giving and never receiving. How is that a relationship? You know what I mean? In any relationship, whether you're gay or straight, how do you, and I know a few people that do that because I've talked to them and they're not still together because they're tired of being the one always giving and never receiving anything. So I don't see how, but see, when you're in a position like Barack Obama, you can be in the relationship like that. You can have 25 of them and always be on the receiving end. So you got to get what you want. I want someone new, get somebody else, that's why these people from other countries that have harems, that's what they do it for. Cause he never has to give. He just always receives and has a whole bunch of kids, and that's okay there, So I just think that's sad about the whole thing is a real relationship. When you're in love with someone in a real relationship, you give each other yourself, you share each other as a, I don't know how to explain it, as a gift. Cause
it's about being vulnerable,
you're being in the most vulnerable position when you're handing yourself, every inch of yourself to another person. And that is your proof of your love for that person. But they've taken it, these people that are doing all this stuff have taken that gift of you being able to give your whole self, your body, your soul, everything to this person because you're opening up your most vulnerable self to somebody because you love them and you want to be there for them in every way possible. And now they're making it to where you just swipe left and you swipe right. If they don't have the right nose or the right eyes or the right size boobs or nice ass, or abs or whatever, then I don't swipe. even though they can look in the mirror and they don't look like what they're expecting to get. Okay. And they're not even willing to even spend 5 minutes having a conversation, getting to know the person. All they want is just give me some, and that's it. That's all. And then they want to leave. So that's why prostitution is skyrocketed, whether it's male or female, because men want men or men want women or whatever it is. They just, it's self-gratification, drive-throughs, Uber drivers, Uber Eats, everything. It's just give, and not receive. So you have a lot of people getting out of relationships, and they're by themselves, but they don't need another relationship, because when I'm by myself, I can just say, I want to have sex, get it, or I'm hungry, get it. I want to watch my show, turn it on.
I noticed this problem.
They don't have a relationship.
I noticed this problem in a very segueing place. I call it the microwave popcorn generation. The introduction of microwave popcorn. Because I cooked popcorn the old-fashioned way, the real way you do it. But again, now you tell a kid to do it. It's take this out, put a button, you're done. There's no thought, because it's all about convenience, and it's about simplicity to them. Because again, they're giving up their control. Why do you need to do it this way? Do it that way. So then, okay, good, I'll just do that. And it's giving away until you are locked in your cage and you don't do anything.
You don't even have to tie your shoes.
Right.
You're giving a kid shoes that have Velcro on it, or just slip-ons. They don't even have to know how to tie shoes. They don't have to know how to read a clock. I mean, we're handing away all the technology, all of our lives. Our whole life is this, that, and the other, and it's like, whatever. So that's like me. I crochet, and I crocheted all day when we were doing the Dungeons and Dragons, and I got a whole half of a bag done. Okay, it's not very much, because it's just, me, just sitting there doing it. It's not a very big bag, but the fact that I'm making it by hand so I can give it to someone else, it took time and effort for me to do it. And it's not made on a machine. I made it with my own hands, and that's going away. Being able to buy a homemade quilt, or a homemade shirt, or a homemade dress, or anything, because it's not worth it anymore. When you can buy something online that was manufactured by somebody that got paid 25 cents an hour, or you want to pay me for making my bag and I want $65 for it because it took me a lot of time and effort, and I made the yarn and everything myself, they don't want to pay that money. When I can get a bag similar, not the same bag, because I only make one of any of the things that I make, they can get another bag for, $20 that looks a lot like it. So they don't care if it's original anymore. It's a process. It just goes on and on and on. As long as I look like I spent a lot of money, that's all that matters. It's not the fact that, it took me a little time to put my hair up or put my eye makeup on, or that I spent time to get my nails done, the effort that went into it. So that's what I think is so cute when I see a young man and he's all excited because he's going to go on a date, and he's shaving and he's getting his hair cut, and he buys cologne and he gets a new shirt and all that stuff because he wants to impress this young woman. And she's doing the same thing, wanting to make sure her teeth are brushed and she's got the right lipstick and, everything. And then they meet, and then, all the little butterflies are going or whatever. Even when you're older, when you have a relationship, because the yearning that you have to meet someone and have a connection with someone, a real connection, you don't hardly see that anymore. I'm seeing more and more people where they're like, yeah, you're really pretty. Do you want to go hook up? That's a relationship today. That's not what I'm looking for. If I have to go the rest of my life without ever having sex again, I guess that's what my life's going to be, because that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not looking for swipe left or swipe right. And I know I'm not the only one. I know there's men that feel the same way as me, that want something meaningful. and it takes effort. You know, you have to talk, you have to ask questions, you know, you have to spend time together to get to know the person that you're with. And people don't want to do that anymore. It's too
No, they
much
don't.
work.
That's the thing.
Oh,
It's very,
oh,
very
she wants
odd.
money. I'll have to take her out to eat, or I have to do this. You don't. I can go for walks. Let's go hiking. Let's go fishing. Let's go camping. Let's go do anything. Get to know each other. That type
But they
of
don't
thing.
want to do that. They
That's
don't
right.
need to know each other either.
Too much work. It's too much effort for little payback. Because if she doesn't have nice tits and a nice ass, then I'm not interested. Or the woman's like, well, he doesn't have a big wallet and a nice car, then I'm not interested. All those people that use Tinder and things like that, to me, are, you know, I don't know how they're ever going to, because one day they're going to be 50, looking in the mirror going, I didn't have any kids. You know, I never did anything with my life. I never.
Just kidding.
But you know what I'm saying? I'm just
I know
saying.
what you're saying. I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying.
They spent so much time womanizing, like Bruce was talking earlier. He got tired of it. You get tired of it. You realize you're missing out. All I want is someone I can come home to every night, sit with, watch our shows, play games together, cook out on the barbecue on the weekend, you know, go hand in hand in a walk in the fields, things like that. It starts realizing that you're missing out, because that's what I would like to have. That's something you can't buy with money. Look at all these millionaires that are getting divorced and have 5 wives or 5 ex-husbands, because they don't take any effort in actually having a relationship where they know each other, where they're best friends, and they can spend every minute of the day together and never get bored. You know, that's real. I've seen people that have that. And just because I want that, well, you're old fashioned. You're, you know,
Again, I'm really old fashioned.
I gotta say, Travis is correct there.
Where
Travis says Janet would swipe right on a guy with a good Andorian cosplay.
Because I have a lot of guys that say, well, you know, how tall do you like? And I go, I don't know. I mean, if I don't like the guy because he's like, he's just an asshole or whatever, then I'm not even going to give him the time of day. I don't care what he looks like.
Are you 5'9"?
No.
Yes.
Okay, I was guessing in my head.
Sandy's 5'7". There's a huge difference in our heights.
Yeah, well, yeah, because I look at the face, look at the proportions, and I just can guess right away. You know.
Yeah.
Are you size 8 shoe? 7?
Not anymore.
Oh, you got smaller?
As you get older, you get more hips and you get more upper parts.
Oh,
if you know what I'm saying.
gotcha.
So I no, and I don't like to wear skin tight stuff unless that's what I'm trying to show off. You see what I'm saying? But the thing is that I tell the people all the time, because you'll be happier. Even though I haven't had the perfect, you know, everything happen. Nobody has a perfect life, but I still strive to be me, you know, because there's only one of me. God made you, and he made me, and he made that person, and we're all different. Our DNA proves that we're not the same. So why are you trying to act like everybody else? You know, just be you and let people get to know who you are. And then they'll want to know you, and then you get to know them, and you got a whole relationship right there, just from 2 people that know nothing, you know, at first, until they turn and, oh, hey, hi, and you meet, you know. Yeah. So, but nobody wants to take the effort anymore. They're too busy on their phones. I mean, go into a restaurant and sit down, look around, everybody's on their phone.
Oh my God.
Instead of talking to each other, and you're sitting at a table.
Yeah, I know.
And that's another thing. I love to talk. Okay.
You want some good news?
I enjoy it. So when I have to sit with someone and they just sit there and they never want to talk, it's like, you know, that's hard too. Because you feel like, oh, I feel nervous. Should I talk? You know, because nobody's talking. I better start talking. And then they don't want to talk because they say, oh, I don't want to interrupt. Yeah, so, I don't know. So it's like
a question to ask. So if I said, if I just didn't really know you or whatever, or you knew at least of me, at least in the fact, and we in passing conversation, I said that I want to get remarried again, and in 2023, do you think that most women would go, marriage is don't get married? You know, would they say that, or they say do get married? What would you think?
No, I think that if you were to meet a woman and you started talking, because you're already having a conversation with her. That's
Right.
a win already, right?
Right.
So once you start getting to know each other, then she's going to tell you her side or what her point of view is. See, that's conversation, and
But do
that's
you
a start.
do you think that the
So
majority
I
of
don't
women
think that they freak
nowadays
out.
don't want to get
No.
married?
I think lots of women want to get married.
Okay.
You just want to be treated as an equal, where you walk hand in hand. Like I tell people, God took Adam's rib and made Eve. Why a rib? Because it's from a side, so she'd stand right next to him as his partner. She's not made from a foot bone or an ass bone. You see what I mean? She's made from his rib. See, and that's what I tell people. A man and a woman side by side, that's a couple. That's a relationship. That's a lifetime that you should be able to spend together. Just like what was it? I made a comment to someone the other night after something we said. Maybe it was one of the people I was talking to, and I was talking about it's just, if we could just be ourselves and say what we want. That's another thing. People are afraid to say what you want. If you're in bed together, trying to please each other, and you don't ask anything, and you just kind of fumble around, you don't say, do you like this or do you not like this? How are you supposed to get better at it? You would say, hey, move your head this way. Oh yeah, right there. That kind of stuff. You got to have communication in the bedroom. So if you're outside the bedroom, you're in the kitchen and you're trying to put dishes away, do you say, well, do you want me to put the dishes in this drawer, or, where do they go? And she'll say, oh, here's this, that, and there. And she'll point it out. See, it's called communication for a reason, but it's the truth. I mean, you know what I mean? So what's so funny, Bruce? What did I say that wasn't true?
31 King says at 2313, start slipping the Viagra into her drinks just to be safe. You don't want to be batting on the same team.
Oh,
yeah, that's perfect. That makes sense.
Well, I always hear it's the opposite way. I heard that once a man turns 18, it starts to go downhill because he reaches his peak about 18 to 20 years old.
Wrong.
About
so something like that. But a lot of women that I've talked to say that their husbands are in their 50s and they're already like maybe once a week if they're lucky. So women do want to have sex. It's just that, I don't know. It just seems like there's no communication. So nobody knows. Set aside one day a week and have a date night, do something. And don't just go to the restaurant and sit there like this and eat your food and then say, okay, let's go home. That's not a date. Okay.
I'll tell you this much. I don't have
talking to each other, hugging, being affectionate. That's a date. Sitting across the table that you could do at home at a restaurant, eating and then shoving your food in and then going home is not a date. Just giving this hint to guys. So you'll know that, put some effort into it. If you want her to wear something sexy and feel sexy, you got to make her feel sexy by telling her, man, you're gorgeous, or you're really pretty, or I love that perfume you're wearing, things like that. If you want her to be receptive, you have to do something to make her feel attractive and want to please.
Mac Thompson nailed it.
What?
His comment. Mac Thompson.
Well, hey, that's great.
Sex drive.
Every woman wishes she had a guy that would perform all the way till the end of their lives. I guarantee it.
That's what I intend to do.
Because it's what's the best. That's the best thing ever in a relationship. You can't do it every minute of the day because you have to cook and clean and eat and you have responsibilities. But what better way to to end the night every night?
Think about
That'd
this.
Be great. Early in the morning when you wake up.
At 15 years old or like 13 around there, you know how guys are. They'll like Playboy, Hustler, blah, 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 all that stuff. I went to the library and read The Joy of Sex, the Kama Sutra at that age.
Yeah.
I went right for the source. So that's because again, I wanted to know how to cook so that I could cook with my wife. I wanted to know how to do everything so I could be handy around the house. And I wanted to know how to make love because I wanted to please my wife. And that was the whole point. Driven for that, to do everything.
Well, see, that's the same thing my mom told me and my 4 sisters was that you need to know how to sew because you're going to get holes in their socks and their pants or whatever else. And you should be able to sew or make things if you want to make a tablecloth or placemats or blankets for when you have a baby or whatever. You need to know how to use a sewing machine and how to darn things. So she made sure that we took home ec and things like that in school. And she also showed me how to crochet because I wanted to learn. Even though I was a tomboy, I just thought it was something I might need one day. I'm so glad and thankful that I did learn that, because I do it. Not because I make foo-foo doilies or anything. It's because I make like tote bags and things like that are usable. But my mom told us that, this is what you're going to be expected to do, things at home. Women need to know how to multitask. This is my mom. You got to be able to cook dinner while you're helping your kids with their homework and doing some dishes in the sink while this is simmering. You got to be able to sweep the kitchen and do this, that, and the other all at once. You got to be able to think about all these different things. So from as long as I can remember, I've always been able to do, one thing while I'm talking about this thing and doing something else. So, men make fun of women about the way they drive or how they park or whatever else. That's fine. But it's not all women, because there's men that are bad drivers and there's women that are bad drivers. So, I'd be fair about that, because I'm a good driver. I'm knock on wood. I've never gotten a ticket because I do not speed. And if I did speed, one time I sped because I was taking someone to the emergency room because they were in labor, and I turned on my flashers and I just kept going. And a cop came up beside me and they saw me, and I pointed at her, and he got in front of me and got me to the hospital. So what I'm saying is, you just have to think a little bit about what you're going to do before you do it. But that's common sense. That's what I always say. Common sense is there, but you just don't listen. Most people don't, especially when you're panicking or you see blood. You see a couple of drops of blood and you just freak out and think you got to go to the emergency room, but it might just be a little small cut. But every person's different. So we just have to be ourselves. And I think if you just be yourself and not try to be something you're not, we'd have so many more better relationships, because you don't have to pretend to be something and you're in the back room going, oh, I forgot, what am I supposed to do? I don't know what I'm supposed to say or how I'm supposed to act because I was somebody else last time, you see? So don't be someone else, be yourself.
Oh, poor Papa Cotton. No, I'm honest to a fault. That's my before, and even more so now, because again, what I've been through, facing death on and fighting it back every day. I don't want to be inauthentic to anybody. That's the whole idea. If women don't care, if women want the facade, just like that's the whole idea. We dress up, we look nice. That's not us. Be yourself. And that's what I'm doing. I'm going to be myself. I don't care. I'm going to wear what I want to wear and do what I want to do. I'm doing it for me. I love myself first above all. I don't need you in my life. I want to have someone to share the things I want to do with. And that's, if you want to do it, let's do it. If not, then there's a door, you can walk out. I am not, and I never did one. Please come back. No, if you want to go.
Well, see what you're saying right now. Just make sure when you do meet a girl that has a little twinkle that you think, maybe this might work out. Make sure you tell her that.
Say, I'm about to.
I don't have to be here. I'm with you because I want to be with you.
Well, that's the good news.
And hang out with you because I want to be around you, because I want to get to know you. See, that's the difference. And I feel sorry for people who never get to find that. And I really do feel sorry, because remember, most of my friends were guys, and I would see so many guys, and they'd see this pretty girl, and she's flat in her eyes, and she's like, yeah, whatever. And he goes and he buys her a nice ring, or he buys her a purse, and he does all this stuff for her. And I'm like, wow, how did you afford to buy that ring? And he said, well, I blew two of my paychecks on it. And I'm like, okay, so you were still able to pay your car payment and whatever else. Well, no, I didn't have to. I skipped it this time. But see, if you want to get something, you can't shirk your responsibilities to do it. You have to still just take the money, set it, just like I did. I worked every summer in a chicken plant and saved money to be able to buy my senior ring and my annual myself, even though my parents said they would buy it. But I knew my parents didn't have a lot of money. So I did that. And guess what? Two of my sisters were like, why are you saving your money? And I told him, I'm going to buy my own annual, my own senior ring. So it's going to take me 2 summers. This was when I was in 11th grade to save that much money. And they were like, oh, so guess what? They did the same thing because I made them feel bad. See? Now the other 2 said, fuck it. I don't care. Mom and dad are going to buy it for me. So they didn't do it. But out of all 5 of us raised in the same house, and, we're all different. So, you can't make other people do what you do. You just have to be yourself. And hopefully, because if you spend enough time with someone, okay, this is another thing, guys and women. You spend enough time with someone and you get to know them after a year and they're still the same and acting the same as they did the year ago, then guess what? That person's pretty honest. Okay. But if you're seeing something different on this person, you're like, this is the same person I met last year. Then I'm like, yeah, they're full of shit. So that's how I make my judgment. I mean, it may be wrong. It may not be, because I do give everyone the benefit of the doubt. If I meet them the first time and they're an asshole because they're having a shitty day, I try not to judge them. But if I meet them 3 times and they act the same way each time I meet them, then I'm like, that person's just an asshole. I'm just not going to waste my time. So that's just me. And hey, I've been open about it. Bruce has met 2 of my sisters. He's got to talk to them. He's got to spend, just time away from, everyone else and talk to him and ask questions and stuff. And we've talked about lots of crap. I mean, we talk about all kinds of stuff and I never stop talking. So I put my foot in my mouth a lot. But the thing is, after maybe 2 or 3 more years, you can ask Bruce, is she really that like that? And he'll tell you yes or no or whatever. But, can't hide it. Over time, you can't hide it. Sooner or later, the real person is there and everyone's going to see it. So, that's just the way it is.
Reminds you of the whole, was it Zechariah and Moses? All the daughters that they did all the daughters. I just see like Moses comes into the town, like some guy comes into your town and then all the girls are there. It's like, you have all this. What do you have? It's like, you have a whole bevy of beauties right there.
Yeah. I remember this one guy. I was at a party. It was I wasn't even old enough to drink, but I was at this party, and this guy was telling me that one day he was going to get married, and I think he was in college. I don't remember, but he was an older guy. And I was like, well, what are you looking for in a woman? He said, well, I want her to be tall and blonde. And, like I want her to look like Heather Locklear. This is what he told me. And I said, oh, really? She's beautiful. And he goes, I want her to be smart and I want her to do this and I want her to do that. And he was telling me all this stuff. And I said, well, what do you have to offer the woman like that? I said, do you have a job? And he went, no. And I said, do you have a car? No. And I said, so, you want all these things, you expect all these things from this woman, but what are you going to give her? What are you going to say? Okay, you giving me this, and this is what I have for you.
Right.
And he was like, he didn't have any answers. See, I told him, I said, well, you need to work on that. You need to work on it. If you want that, then you need to start working on what you're going to have. If you're not that attractive, I go, you're nice looking, but you're not, blonde and dark tanned and muscular, blah, blah, blah. If you expect a Heather Locklear figure, and guess what? After 2 babies, she's not going to have that anymore. She's going to look a little different. So does that mean you're going to dump her off and get another Heather Locklear because she doesn't look the way she did after she gave you 2 children?
Wait. They make multiple Heather Locklears.
But see, that's the kind of stuff I've always done this. And we can ask any of my sisters. I'm annoying, but the thing is, I can't help it. I don't mean to be mean about it. I'm not trying to be mean. It's just my genetic makeup or something. I can't explain it. But, I try to help people. When they ask my opinion, I'm going to try to be honest and give it to them. Whether they won't ask me again if they don't like my answers. So whatever. But I can't go much later. I forgot. It's 11:30 and I'm going to Comic-Con tomorrow. So I got to get some sleep because I'm going to dress up and have a great time. And hopefully I get to meet, I'm going to get to meet William Shatner and is it Christopher Lloyd?
Christopher Lloyd.
Yeah, Christopher Lloyd, because he was in a Star Trek movie as a Klingon. Yes. And then Jonathan Frakes. And I'm going to take my Federation of planets manual with me, and I'm gonna get them 3 to autograph it for me. And then I'm also gonna try to enter in the costume contest. So we'll see what happens.
Really? What are you gonna wear?
I'm gonna be the Andorian. I'm gonna wear my red Star Trek uniform. Even though I wanted to wear my blue, but if I wore a blue, I'd have to be like a Romulan or a Vulcan, because the blue skin does not look good with blue uniform. So I'm gonna wear a red uniform, but I'm gonna have that white wig with the little antenna on it. So it's gonna be fun. I'm real excited about it, but I got to get some sleep, or I'll have huge bags under my eyes and my eyes be all swollen. Plus, it's over an hour drive to get there, and I'm gonna be completely made up when I go. So hopefully, and it's sold out. So I'm glad I bought my tickets early.
Good.
So the tickets in are sold out. But thank you guys for helping me, and I hope everybody in the chat had a good time. Yeah, Frakes. That's how you say his name. I always say Frank. I don't know why I do that, Franks. But I meant Frakes. But thank you, Bruce, for joining me tonight.
This was a lot
thank
of
you,
fun.
Ruben. It was a good show, because this was I could have talked about, because I had some more stuff about who Obama's daughters really came from.
Oh yeah.
And about Michelle Obama taking a vacation without her husband, just like Ruben was talking about opening a door for it. But I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. But guess what? I'm a true believer that the truth always comes out. You just have to be patient. And sometimes we won't even be alive to see the truth. But we'll get to be looking down at the earth and say, yep, I knew it was going to happen, whatever. But that's just the way it is in real life. But you guys have a wonderful night, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. I love doing this, and if it hadn't been for Bruce helping me, I wouldn't even be doing this yet. I mean, I would be just having another live stream and bawling my eyes out because I can't figure out what I'm doing. So,
this margarita for you, Janet.
But thank you. Enjoy it. I'm going to have me an alcoholic beverage before I go lay down.
Good.
And I'll get on my iPad and listen to some music and relax. But
it's almost allergy 30.
Do what?
It's almost allergy 30. That moment in the stream where you turn into a nasally mess.
Well, yeah, I'm already nasally and everything, but I popped a pill right before we started.
Do you have Spotify, Janet?
Spotify now. I use Amazon.
Oh, Amazon Prime.
Because I have Alexa.
I got you. Yeah, because I wanted to, if you wanted something I could send you some music.
Thank you for having the CIA spy device there, Janet.
I don't know.
It'll come in.
Oh well, I don't care. They can spy on me. I don't give a shit. It's boring. It's so funny. I've been getting a bunch of spam lately on my Hotmail. My Hotmail sucks. They keep trying to get me to go to whatever is Outlook or something is what bought Hotmail. Yeah. So I made me a Gmail account because Hotmail sucks. I'm getting so much spam and stuff like that. I got this one. I was reading some of them before I blocked them and turned them in for phishing or whatever. Okay, and that takes a long time when you got 400 emails, right? And I'm going through it, and one of them says, I caught you. And it says, I caught you on video pleasuring yourself or whatever through your camera phone or something like that. I'm like, wasn't me, buddy. Somebody else. You got me mixed up with someone else. So I was just laughing at some of these stupid things that people
I know
get.
It's so funny. I always get I get the email, not through my main account, but I have a lot of dummy accounts that now they're dummy accounts because they basically, I don't know, but it's basically says your Windows computer has viruses. Mm-hmm. Click here. And I said, dumbass, I don't use Windows. I don't even use Mac.
Anyone should know you never click on a link to a message that you don't know who sent it to you. Oh my
God, my fucking wife did that one time. Jesus Christ. And I'm going, what's going on? And you got an email. What are you, an idiot? What are you doing? Don't do that.
Yeah, there's lots of idiots. Believe me, there are. But that's one thing I was talking about the other day too to Bruce was that you can go, you'll be at the store, at the grocery store, and there's a little kid, like maybe 3, right? And they got an iPhone, the mom's phone, and they're swiping and they're making videos and making selfies and everything at 3 or 4 years old. And then you got a person that's 75, they don't even know how to use any of this stuff. on their phone.
I'll tell you two things, because again, that's why I'm saying it's my computer I have. It's the same company that Edward Snowden recommends, and it's built. I built it, and it's all configured for me. This is like I bought this years ago, not that long ago, 2020, because I knew this is happening. I'm ready. It's triple encrypted. So, and I know. So it's crazy. You got to be prepared for what's going to happen, and that's why I don't like to have anything. I don't want to give anything.
But see, that's one reason why I moved here. I moved here to try to get prepared because I think, I think things are going to get really bad before the end of this year. I don't know. I mean, I just don't know if we're ever going to recover from all the things that's happened over this, just from this administration.
So if Arkansas or wherever you are didn't exist and you had no family, nothing at all, where would you go?
Well, I would go to the desert for sure, like in Arizona or Nevada, because of my allergies for one. And I'd love Reno. I went there one time in my life. And I loved Idaho because I lived in Idaho for a little while. And I love mountains. I love desert looking, and I don't mind cold. I love snow. I love the smell of snow. I love the sound of it when you walk in. I love eating snow and having snowball fights and riding sleds and all that. And I just love it. But I also love the heat too, for summer. So it just depends. I just don't like lots of flies. I don't like ticks. I don't like lots of snakes, things like that. But besides that,
Montana,
the heat and the cold don't bother me. But I traveled a lot because I had a dad that was from New York, and my relatives on my dad's side's from Windham, Connecticut, Nova Scotia, Maine, all up in there. And then my mom's side is Oklahoma, Texas, and Arkansas, basically, is where my mother's side of the family is. So, and I was born in Newfoundland myself. So,
what?
Yeah, I was born in Newfoundland. I told you that before.
Just kidding.
So I'm a Canuck, whatever you call it. And my sister Sandy, she's a maniac. Doesn't that fit her? Because she was born in Maine. Sandy was born in Maine. Oh, really? Yep, Bangor, Maine. So Sandy was.
I'll tell you something. There are many levels of exquisite beauty, and all of you have that. You're all
and Jennifer, she was born in the Philippines.
See, I tell you that exotic women, and there you go.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. And you're going to get your goal. You just keep doing what you're doing right now, and you are going to find that.
Well, yeah, I'm fine. Again, a lot of people, when I'm doing videos, are saying, good for you to change your life. No, I'm not changing your life. I'm trying to save it because what I actually, again, this is not, it's not fat. It's a tumor. I've been riddled with these tumors, and I didn't even know. The doctors didn't know, and all that stuff. So I said, we got to remove them. And I said, how? Cut them off. He says, wait a minute. You say things like lipomas. I'm creating them, whatever. My body's an imbalance, and blah, blah, blah. So I'm going to fight to remove them, which I am. I am now the lowest I've been ever. Well, not ever, but, as an adult here.
Since you've been grown up, yes.
Correct. So then I'm going to continue to push it. So I'm basically, like I said, I will be Mr. 199. I want to be 199. I don't know how, because again, the last time I was 200 pounds was I was 10 years old, 1978.
Well, you're doing awesome.
So
because I try to see every week. I try to at least come watch 1 or 2, 3 of your videos and leave you a comment and a like.
Oh yeah, go see my videos. Just I'm going to say everybody. I have 3 main channels I put things on. I have a weight loss channel. And it's My Weight Loss Quest. You can see it on YouTube. It's on the link of any of my videos. I have the main YouTube channel I use here, which is actually the second video channel I opened, and I have Rumble. And Rumble is where I say everything. I do all the gamer words. I say everything, and that's where I put my story of the most horrific Labor Day picnic I ever experienced, and it is in relation to Obama and the down low stuff, because The person I talked to, I thought was somebody that I knew theoretically, not really a friend, as an associate, and they are insane. And it's all in the video. You should see it on Rumble, and it's crazy.
Well, I'll have to start watching those then, because
And
it's like I said,
the Rumble ones are uncensored. I say
I've
everything.
heard many guys, and Bruce is one of them, that I've heard say, "Oh, those crazy girls are great. They were great in bed, blah blah blah." But every time you risk sleeping with a woman, you risk getting a child. So you're thinking about that. Think about that child. Are you going to be able to stay in a relationship with someone that's nuts? And would you want to have a child with that person? See, it takes two people to do that. And if one of you says, hell no, I ain't risking having no kid with that guy, then, I'm just not going to do it, because if they're already,
oh shit,
over there, I guess he had to leave or something. I don't know. But, or he got disconnected. I don't know. But I just want to say thank you, everybody, again. And you guys have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy yourself. And don't forget, Sunday night, we're going to watch Constantine. And Bruce has never seen it. So we're going to watch Constantine, and then we're going to review it on Monday. And I'm already working on my costume. I'm so excited.
Nice.
Because I haven't got to do this one before. So this will be something different than I've never done. So I'm excited about that. But so what did you got planned, Ruben?
Well, actually, this is something. Again, putting videos out, continuing to lose the weight. The last few weeks have been really rough with a lot of minor nerve pain and issues, but I've been dealing with it because, again, I have to deal with it. I can't. I'm an advocate for my own health, and what I'm going to be doing is something that I mentioned back in January. Basically, what's happening is it could be the greatest story of all time for me. The one that got away, I had mentioned about a woman who I had known for 20 years ago. And back in January,
this is in Florida, right?
I was in Florida. No, I was in Florida, and she was here in Chicago.
Oh, okay. Chicago. That's right.
Yeah. Or a suburb of Chicago, whatever, or somewhere. I don't know. And I reached, she's, again, the best way to describe her is like Forrest Gump. She's Jenny. She's a spitting image of Jenny, or she's wild and just does stuff. And then she pops in and pops out of my life at times. But the first time, it was a very cute story. I won't say here, but the idea that we almost got together, but we didn't. And it was like the one that got away. And she pops up periodically, maybe after like 7 years I'll see her, because the last time I actually saw her physically was like 2017, 2016, around there, but I haven't, it's been a while, but it was very, very brief. It was only one night, just dinner. And then she vanishes, because in the way that it happens is she'll see me. I can't do this anymore. I need to be on my own, or maybe with you. And then call her back, and it's like dead. You don't hear from her again for like another 5, 6, 10 years. And she pops up again. She actually popped up on September 1st again, after I talked with her in January, because she was basically saying, I'm done. I need to let's run away together and go somewhere. And then she left. She just vanished again. And she pops up 9 months later or whatever. And so I actually talked to her today for the first time since then.
Good.
Finally. And I'm going to see her tomorrow. Finally, for the first time in a long time. And I'm going to tell the truth.
Good. Do it. Be yourself.
I don't care. If I crash and burn, I crash and burn, because what you say, what I hear about all the dating apps, this and that, blah, blah, blah. I just want real now and no BS.
That's right.
It's the more talk thing.
Life is so short. Our lives are so short when you look at the lifespan of the earth, and it's gone like that. It's gone. It's just, and you can't get it back.
And it's funny to me, she hasn't changed
at all. Every day
should
be a new day together with someone that you care about, and spend every minute that you can trying to find out as much as you can with that other person, and live a new life.
Yeah, I met her when was it? September 3rd, 2023. Sorry, 2003, 2023. So it's been 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
So it's, but it's like, to me, she's even more beautiful now. And she said,
Well,
I said to her,
I think that's
I'll
awesome.
send you a picture of her. So,
Okay, well,
because
you guys have a
she
wonderful
sent me a
night.
picture of herself.
Well, I wanted to tell Bruce, I told everybody about Discord and you getting to watch Constantine for the first time.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, so, and
Looking
we're going to
forward
be
to it.
reviewing it on Monday. So I wanted to make sure they knew that, because I didn't know what happened. I didn't know if you just got booted on accident or something happened or whatever.
Yeah, just this thing, you know how sometimes the internet is. That's all.
Mm-hmm.
That's
I know.
all
It's usually my end. It's usually my side that's all screwed up because I'm in Hillbillyville, but that's okay. But is anything you want to say before I turn it off?
Really, the one thing I want to talk about, we didn't really get into tonight, but we also started late.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I don't know if that was by design, but I wanted to get started around 8:00 because there was a lot that happened this week. There was a ton that happened this week.
Well, write it down and we can talk about it next week.
We will, and
Just more shit.
Next week, we can close with my Anthony Fauci bit because I have a bedtime story by the doctor and celebrity voice impersonated.
Mm-hmm.
So there I was, backstage in the green room on the sofa with Rachel Maddow, and she was sitting on my lap, telling me, "Daddy Fauci, tell me of these lockdowns." And I could feel her panties begin to saturate. And at that point, I said, "We're going to have some very girthy lockdowns. These lockdowns are going to be the greatest thing ever. Well, except for one thing." And she's like, "What's that, Daddy?" And I said, "Well, little Rachel, what we're going to do, we can't discuss, and they'll have to send this couch to the cleaners. But afterwards, I'm going to do my first doctor's procedure with our abortion."
Oh my God.
So I want everybody to have a great night. Thank you for coming to see the shit show tonight. For Bruce Lombardo, I thank you. Janet, go on ahead. Thank you, dear.
Okay. Well, I wanted to say thank you one more night and one more time. And without you guys, we wouldn't be able to do this. So I just want you to know that. And thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you.
God.